let's just play this. We can play it and we can. Okay, so the people have missed it or they're not here for whatever reasons. So let's you and I create the evening for them,
Oh, I love it.
and then they can watch us. So since none of you are here, and Rocky and I are the only two that showed up, we have concluded that we are on another planet and we are the only two on the planet. So we're going to have to work this out going forward. So,
Yes.
so Rocky, how do you feel about being the only other person on the planet?
Oh man, it's wild.
It's a stretch. I wonder how big the planet is.
Uh, well, we might as well just call it a planet like a Naviraki planet.
Oh no, we could call it. Well, actually, let's call it Planet Tender Spots
Okay, tender.
because
Oh yeah, we are doing tender
that's
spots.
the subject. So we're going to name this planet Planet Tender Spots.
Okay, I like it.
Now, Rocky, why would tender spots be so important when we're talking about developing characters, which is what we're talking about tonight? Do tell. Take a guess. Tender spots.
Uh, it's uh it's where they're most vulnerable and we can get more dimension to the character through that.
That's exactly right. And last week we talked about social ease. So those of you who were here last week know that we talked about social ease. Unfortunately, and I have to apologize to you if you're watching this video, last week somehow I think I flubbed the Zoom and I missed recording last week. So for those of you who missed, I think one person missed it last week. We were doing social ease, and social ease is all about how we ease ourselves through our interactions with the people that we have in our lives or with strangers that we meet. So you meet somebody you've never met before, you say, "It's very nice to meet you." That's bit aspirational because you don't know really if it's nice to meet them or not because you've never met them before. Who knows what they'll end up doing? So, what would be another social ease thing that we covered last week, Rocky, that you could help us out with?
Um, that's a good question. I have to pull out my book.
Pull out your book.
Yeah.
As Rocky
I
pulls out
can't
her book,
remember out of memory.
her memory's not working. Excuse me, memory.
Not working.
Why are you not
I'm
working
holding
today?
too many things in my head these days, so I forgive that. Oh yeah, we talked about food.
We did.
We talked about food, that being sort of a connector, a common ground that people tend to talk about. Then we talked about where we felt welcome to a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So, how we find belonging or moments where we kind of were initiated,
Mm-hmm.
and then customs and rituals and phrases.
That's sweet that we did. We talked about shibboleths. A shibboleth is something that somebody would say that will indicate that they're a member of a group. The
Mm-hmm.
Leaf Festival, which is what we just finished, the theme for the Leaf Festival, I'll hold it up here so you can see it, is Live Life Like a Festival.
Ah,
These are all the bands, and this was the poster, Live Life Like a Festival. Live Life Like a Festival is a shibboleth because if you say it to the group of people that were here, we had 4,000 walking through this campus
oh
for
wow.
this festival. If you have a group of people at here and you said live life like a festival, what they know that means is life is to be lived in a jolly, fun, festive, happy way. Now, it's almost true because if you live life like a festival, it could imply that nothing is bad happening. So that would be the horizontal part. The vertical part is live life like a festival. And to go deep into life, you must bump into some darker areas. So even when you hit the
Mm.
darker areas, you can still approach them with a festive sensibility, a sense of humor. Even the worst of times has a bit of that. So live life like a festival would be a shibboleth, because when you're in a group of people and you say live life like a festival, everybody in the group knows you're referring to the Leaf Festival, which was at one time called the Lake Eden Arts Festival. So in our socialese, we talked about phrases that will indicate if you belong to a group or not.
Mm.
And if you have a workplace, at your workplace, you probably have a few phrases that describe to the insiders what it's like to be at work today. Who knows what they are, but you might have a few phrases that you say. One of the classic phrases is, you know, oh, another day in paradise, even though the job might be a burden. Another day in paradise, ironic, loaded with subtext. So,
Yeah.
anything else around that?
No, so it's almost like a shared, because what you were talking about, live life like a festival. Now, different cultures have different festivals and
Mm-hmm.
different, maybe different uh way of celebrating festivals. So there's something that's common, but there's also some individuality in it.
Right.
And yet that word festival just brings everybody together.
Yes. Yes. And so festival has lots of different meanings across the spectrum. So in
Yeah.
this case, live life like a festival is uh, is a very esoteric phrase designed here for this festival. But if you were to take it to another kind of festival, it would have a very different meaning.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the cultures switch around. So one culture has I think in Taos, the Taos Pueblo has a corn festival where they
Mhm.
celebrate the harvest. Another group would have a different kind of festival. Anyway, all of this is to say, my friends who are not here tonight and listening to the two of us talk, there are plenty of ways that we interact with each other socially. And that was what we covered last week in Socialese. This week, tender spots, vulnerability. So, Rocky, why don't we just do these exercises and see what happens for
Hey.
us and see where we go with them? So, one of the things in in for tender spots, what we are attempting to do when we write is to try to explore, as the creatives, you and I, uh, different ways that we can start to understand the tender spots that people really have. Now, I'll give you an example of a tender spot since we have time and it's just the two of us. I'm here at at Leaf Retreats, the Lake Eden Retreat, and we just finished this festival. And there's a large house called Mountain Stream, and Mountain Stream is is the house that Jennifer Pickering, the woman who shares this land with her husband Lee, she grew up in that house, and her cousin is here for a wedding that's going to happen next weekend. And her cousin, I think her cousin's name is Emily. Well, let's call her Emily for the sake of the story. She she was there last this morning, and Emily came downstairs, and I was still sitting there on the couch because I'd been staying there for a few days. I'm not there now. And Emily got very upset with me because I was there at this house. Mountain Street, what are you doing here? My family has rented this house and the grounds for the entire week for the wedding of my daughter next Saturday. And you're not supposed to be here, basically, is what she said. And of course, she had actually rented the house starting on Thursday. But because she had grown up in the house as one of the relatives, and the house had been a private house until 2 years ago when it became the center of gravity for the whole retreat center, which she didn't know. She thought it was still a family house and that she had agency over that house. And when she saw me there, it hit her tender spot because she was feeling like I had invaded her private space.
Mm.
When in fact, the private space wasn't hers at all. It was the center of gravity for the entire Leaf crew, which was coming in for breakfast an hour later that she didn't understand. So we had a conflict, or she had more with me than I had with her. I said, okay, I can move. I've got other places and options I can go. But her conflict was very tender because she didn't understand that there was a loss of the home that she had thought was hers. And she was very tender about that. So that was a tender spot. So her behavior reflected this tender spot she was working from, whereas my behavior reflected the lack of knowledge I had about what she was doing there. And I knew that this place was still part of the Leaf Festival crew, and I was part of the crew. So because of her tender spot, mine wasn't as tender. I said, okay, fine, I'll just go somewhere else. No big deal. You got to go somewhere anyway. So what? Big deal. So I didn't get upset, but she did. And so when you're writing a character and you're working with when you know that those dynamics are at play, you can build that into the character and be aware, well, what are the tender spots? What's driving this person? And then when she realized later that the circumstances had changed, then she shifted out of it and was aware, oh, I have to share this place because it's no longer family home. And that would be an immediate example of a tender spot.
Mm.
So let's do this. The first exercise, see the storm. We're going to explore vulnerability, and we're also going to explore personalities and how people dress and why they dress. So let's do this. Um, I want you to list, and let's do 3 minutes on this. List as many articles of clothing as you can think of. 3 minutes, just list articles of clothing
Okay.
and wind it up. Okay, now we're developing characters. We're playing around with tender spots. So the way people dress, they often will reflect their tender spots, or it will reflect their aspiration for identity. So since somebody might dress preppy, there's a line of clothing that I love that I cannot afford, Brunello Cinelli, and it's made in Italy, and it's only for the very wealthy people because the shirts are $2,500 each.
Oh, wow.
The puffy jackets are 12,000. Your little baseball caps are $1,000. All bespoke stuff, right? But it's just really if I had a Brunello Cinelli outfit, I don't know how I would feel. I don't know if I would feel okay about it, but it would be an expensive outfit. So that would be maybe a tender spot for me because I didn't grow up having a lot of money. So maybe I want a very fancy outfit just because I have a tender spot. So what would happen if I had a beautifully dressed outfit from Italy? How would I behave? Maybe different than if I were wearing a pair of work pants. Okay.
Mm.
So these combinations of dressing can be really interesting. So what I'd like for you to do, and I'll do it too, because I made a list as well. I'd like for you to circle 5 items of clothing that you have on your list, not particularly in any order, just because they just, something that you fancy. So circle 5 items. Okay. Do you have your 5 items circled? What are they?
Scarf, shoes, gloves, underwear, and dresses.
Okay. So can you get a little more specific about the scarf? What kind of scarf is it?
It is, I want to say, a vintage scarf from one of like an atelier from Paris.
Okay. So what is it? Does it have a look? You have a look, you can kind of have an idea of what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the other 4 items?
Shoes.
What kind of shoes?
Um, They're kind of like walking boots uh, with a very soft hide.
Ah, walking boots with very soft ties. So they're fancy.
Yeah, they're kind of like power boots.
Power boots. Brand name or just power boots?
I don't have brand
Okay,
names.
power boots with soft hide. Okay, right away we know that that's, if you're a power dresser and you have power boots with soft hides, you know that that's a special boot.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the other three?
Um, I have dresses, and I went very generic here. I didn't get very specific with it. Um, this dress is in a slightly heavier fabric, but it also has a really nice fall, and it folds uh, beautifully
Okay,
into waves.
all right, what color would it be?
It would be like a wine color.
Okay, fair enough. What are the others? What is it? Two more, I think.
Yeah, I have gloves, and um, the gloves belong to a relative who's passed away, and they're slightly worn, but they have like a little ornamental aspect to it.
Okay, great. And then the last one.
The last one's underwear.
There's a lot of variations.
Yeah, there's a lot of variations. So it is something that I wouldn't wear that normally. That's what came to my mind when I circled it. So it's a
Mhm.
type of underwear that I wouldn't wear normally. And so there's kind of a little bit of awareness of that.
Okay, fair enough. You have some images of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's just pick out a character's name that you're going to be working with.
Okay, Sheila.
Sheila what?
Sheila Watson.
Okay, this is Sheila Watson, and my character is going to be William Fireman. I don't know why. Sheila Watson, William Fireman. Okay. Now, I circle glass slippers, wool underwear, alligator belt, tuxedo, which may not be the whole tuxedo, and bride's petticoat.
Okay.
Okay. So now what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes, my friend, we're going to I'm going to dress William Fireman in these three outfits and give him something to do, or these five items and give him something to do. And and you can do the same. And let's
Okay.
just see where it takes us. So we have the name. Your name is what again?
Sheila Watson
Okay,
and
let's
William
see.
Fireman.
William Fireman. So let's just see what Sheila and William end up doing. And so I'll just time us for 10 minutes. I'm able to do this tonight too. So I don't have to just wait for you. I'll write too. So
Are they doing something, or they're just we're describing how they're dressed?
let it do whatever it does, but make sure
Okay.
you describe how they're dressed. So get them
Okay.
dressed, get the clothes on them,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
see where you want. Maybe you don't take them anywhere. Maybe they don't do anything at all. Maybe you're just describing these people as they dress. Or let's see how, as you dress them, the character begins to emerge, who these people are, what they're up
Okay.
to, why they do this. Okay? Let's
Okay.
give it a spin, see what happens. And wind it up. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you.
No,
Happy to be here.
nobody came tonight.
Oh, what the heck?
It's just us. Can you all hang on just a second? I'm at a friend's house and the electric vacuum cleaner just started up. Hang on a minute.
It's one of those robots, probably on a timer.
Yeah. A Roomba. Yes.
Didn't know what that was about. So, Alicia, Rocky and I are here, and so we just decided to proceed. And so I was doing some writing too, instead of trying to figure it all out. And so what we just did is we just finished the first exercise in our section here called Tender Spots, and it's dressing up. And so Rocky and I just listed a whole bunch of different clothes, and then we wrote for 10 minutes dressing up a character. My character was William Fireman, and hers was Sheila Watson. So how did yours turn out, Rocky?
It was very interesting how it kind of went. Now I'm like really intrigued by this story. I'm like, okay, what's happening here?
Well, we usually wait till the end, but since we only have two people and we may not have anybody else show up, why don't you just read it just to get sorbet our moment, and maybe then we'll go from there. So read what you wrote. So Alicia, this is the idea is we're trying to find vulnerability. We're trying to have some empathy around what other people are feeling, trying to take a look at how we sometimes get things wrong because the tender spots are playing out. So we might misread people because somebody's responding a certain way, but we may think it's another way. And so we're just exploring the idea that we're going into the notion that when we are really aware that we all have tender spots, and then you develop characters from that point of view, you can take a lot of license and liberty around how you pair those tender spots up. And so what we've done here is list the words that listed the clothes. We chose five, and in a way that the five are tender spot. They're little doorways into tender spots because we all choose clothes for all kinds of reasons. So go ahead and read yours, Rocky.
Sheila wakes up in a motel in Arcadia wearing only a pair of ballerina shoes. Unclear whether she's still dreaming or wide awake. She feels a bit she feels a bit hazy, but she drags herself to the closet in the room to see if there are any clothes. Her eyes go to the tall suede boots in the bottom of the closet, soft and sturdy. She tries them on. They're a little bit snug, but she's able to squeeze into them. Hanging in the closet is a dress perfectly tailored with the most exquisite mother of pearl buttons. She tries it on and it fits just right. Rummaging through the closet, she finds a silky satin scarf monogrammed in the symbol of a leaping puma. The scarf feels luxurious. She puts on all the clothes and walks to the mirror, admires the outfit on herself. I wonder who these belong to. The styles are a lot different than what is seen on the streets. I don't feel like myself. Where am I? Am I dreaming or am I awake?
Hmm.
That's all I got. And
Wonderful.
So what does that tell you?
I mean, there's so much. When we started writing, I was like, okay, I'll write about the clothes and how they fit. But then I was like, as I started writing, I was like, wait, they don't need to be her clothes. They don't all need to fit well. And then as I was unfolding, it was like, okay, well, they all like she can find like I was gonna go with like where she finds the gloves in the pocket of the dress, and then the whole thing unravels where she finds like a bra which has like a note in the pocket, and then what is that note going to say? And I don't know, but that's where I was going with it.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And in Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way, there's a section. I think it might be in the vein of gold, not The Artist Way. It's called Secret Selves.
Hmm.
And you dress yourself in different articles of clothing. So here we're dressing Sheila Watson, but when you dress yourself in different articles of clothing, you change personality. When I taught Artist Way, this was back when we were doing it live. We would do this. We would come dressed as our secret selves, and I would say to the class, "Dress me up as a woman. Bring the stuff in. I'll become a drag. I'll be Nadine the drag queen." And I'll teach the classes Nadine the drag queen. So they would show up and they dressed me as Nadine the drag queen. and I taught the class from Nadine's point of view, and it does change things. Um, you know, mine was I started out. William Fireman won his Senate seat in a plain suit, like any suit any politician would wear. You know the type. Old William standing at the podium and saying, "My friends, thank you for coming. Thank you, citizens, for holding up the flag." William Fireman belonged to the inside club, but William had a secret. He knew he had won his election not because he had been an honest, upright man, good citizen. Oh, he was that for sure. He won because he had been a creature of the small carnival world. He had grown up in it. Carnies, grifters, gangsters, and funny fashion hipsters who played cards and who played cards and learned early how to read people, peg the mood, call out the religious queens, play the easy marks. William did all these things by painting his fingernails purple, wearing glass slippers. Everyone knew him as Cinderella's boyfriend, but the glass slippers were only the start. It was the bridal petticoat that won the day. Pray, uh, pray. Let's see, bridal petticoat that won the day. He'd wrap an alligator belt around his neck and call it his good luck charm. He even wore wool underwear made from sheep, his own sheep, because he was the third cousin of a Navajo weaver who taught him how to do it. We won't go any further there. He topped it all off with a fancy tuxedo jacket from Nordstrom's in New York. Why not? Uh, he was running for the Senate later, after all. So what this does is it defaults you out of trying to be a good writer.
Mhm.
It takes you just straight out of it.
Yeah.
And you're no longer you're now a cultural explorer, taking notes as you go along.
Mm.
And and then it's delightful because these people start to introduce themselves to you.
Right.
Any more thoughts on this, Rocky?
No, this was really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. So, shall we move on to the next one? Okay, so Alicia, I don't know how long we'll stay tonight. Depends on how fast we get through, but now you can join in on this. So, what I'd like for you to do is to take a just take a couple of minutes or just a little bit of time and think of some unattractive physical, an unattractive list some unattractive physical characteristics. Okay. Now, since Alicia's on, I'm going to pull back from writing just so I can stay focused on the text. So I'll let this be a 10-minute writing that you and Alicia share. So you've got some unattractive physical characteristics. What are some that you've listed, Rocky?
I couldn't list anything because I was just like, oh wait, but that's kind of not so unattractive. And I got like a little.
Okay, so let's work with that for a moment. One woman in one of our workshops, her unattractive physical characteristic was an ear sticking out of hair, straight hair. Like Alicia, you have straight hair, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Now, if your ear stuck out of the straight hair, not like that, but like if part of the ear was on but the ear sticks out, so yeah, stick your ear out.
I can't really do that, but my ears aren't big.
Yeah.
Okay, so see how the ear is sticking out of the straight hair like that? The woman just absolutely thought that was the worst thing on earth. most unattractive physical characteristic you could possibly have, or a wart, or a lot of people who age, as I have done, they begin to see their age lines as unattractive physical characteristics, and they try to cover them up, or they do stuff with them, get a little self-conscious about it. Maybe somebody's really short, and that would be an unattractive physical characteristic. Uh, somebody, the Kate O'Toole in Ireland once wrote about this woman who had a hunchback, and she spoke to the hunchback, and she named it Princess Diana. And suddenly the hunchback was a character. So can you think of an unattractive physical characteristic now, Rocky? What would you think?
Knocked knees. I don't know. I feel like I'm being, it wouldn't just like if I saw somebody with that, I would just not feel that unattractiveness anymore. It's like a conceptual
Yeah,
thing.
but this is writing a character. So this isn't about how you feel about it. This is how the character would feel about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the unattractive physical an unattractive physical care, like it could be a rotten tooth.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
it
yeah.
it, it could be a black eye. Sometimes you see people that have birthmarks on their faces. And so some people who have birthmarks on their faces, they don't seem to care. It's fine. It's fine with them. So it's fine with them. It's fine with everybody else. But some people are really self-conscious about it. Or somebody has a blue eye and a brown eye,
Okay.
that sort of thing. So figure out an unattractive characteristic, and you could put that unattractive characteristic in the character that you're already working with. I mean, Sheila Watson could have an unattractive characteristic, or
Mm.
somebody else. So write about this character's, write about how this character feels and deals with the unattractive physical characteristic. So say somebody has a if say a woodworker suddenly cuts all three of the fingers off. So now the woodworker only has two fingers, and then you have the stubs. Okay, how does that person deal with it? Do they hide it? Do they show it? Do they feel insecure? Do they feel excited? What are they going to do with it? So take 10 minutes and build out a character. You can give the character a name, or you can keep Sheila as your character and build it out and see where it goes. And so I'll just time it for 10 minutes and let you all do that. And then I will come back in 10 minutes. Any questions?
I would just welcome you to write if you want to.
Well, I need to read ahead just so I make sure I cover the territory. I don't mind doing it, but if I do that, then my brain shifts out of one thing and goes into another.
All
Okay,
right.
so that's the reason why I'm going to hold off on that. Lynn, welcome. We're glad you're here. Come off mute and tell us what we need to know.
You need to know nothing except that I was in my storeroom trying to clear it out, and I just didn't look at my watch. And I came upstairs with a whole bag of stuff, and I suddenly realized the time. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. I almost forgot it the other night. It's really, really easy to do that. It's really,
Especially
really easy.
in the middle of the week. Weekends, I'm fine, but during the week, I'm so sorry.
No, it's no worries, no reason to apologize. So quickly, we started out, Rocky and I started out all alone, this the two of us. So we decided since we were the only two humans on the new planet, we titled the Planet Tender Spots, which is the title of this week. So Rocky and I were on Planet Tender Spots, and lo and behold, another one landed. Alicia shows up and she lands. And then a little bit later, Lynn lands on the Planet Tender Spot. So tonight we're on Planet Tender Spots, and there's now four of us. Our population is growing. Um,
Good, good, good.
and so what we really, so Rocky and I were just playing around with making a video for everybody who wasn't able to come. So now we have a larger crowd, which is great. So what we've done so far is the idea with Tender Spots is to build characters, being aware of how we all have very sensitive places that we work with in our lives, that we protect. We have grief, we we are trying to look great for our friends, or maybe we have things in our past that motivate us to do things. It's a bit like building a character in on a play or in a movie. The character understands all the things that will drive them forward to whatever they want. So we're in the storytelling sensibilities of working with characters. So the first thing that Rocky and I did, and Alicia came in right toward the end, we listed, we spent 5 minutes listing items of clothing. And then Rocky and I came up with two characters. Mine was William Fireman, and Sheila Watson was Rocky's. And so we had five different items, and we dressed our characters in these items. And the items were different. I had an alligator belt, glass slippers, a bridal dress, a tuxedo jacket. And what were some of yours, Rocky?
I had a wine dress, a vintage scarf, suede boots, and a lace bra, and scarf. Oh yeah, I said the scarf. Gloves.
Gloves, right? So we put those clothes on the characters and dressed them. So my character it was a senator who looked very straight, but as it turned out, he came from the life of the carnivals. So he became a senator and he cleaned himself up. But prior to that, he was wearing bridal dresses and alligator belts around his neck and all sorts of pink or purple fingernail polish and all of this in his carnival life. So we were just exploring the way to develop characters. And then what we just finished doing was was a was the next exercise, the unattractive physical characteristic. And Lynn, you may have done the unattractive physical characteristic in one of our workshops. So Lynn's familiar with that. And again, the idea with this, Alicia, you have not done this before. What was your experience with the unattractive physical characteristic? I believe Lynn has done it at least a couple of times, maybe more. And Lynn, you're on mute, so you all can all come off mute if you like. Alicia, what was your experience with this?
I got a little bit in my own way because I paired the physical characteristic with a person I know who has it.
Oh,
And so then I kind of got engaged with the familiar, and next time I would like to do it and start make it all up. Not I was a little bit confined by what I knew about this person, and I could have branched off, but I didn't go very far from what I know of them.
yeah. When you're writing about someone you know, which would fit into a memoir, there's a term you may or may not have heard. You may know it. It's called creative nonfiction.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
you can take the license and build
yeah,
out something with
yeah.
the character you know. Anything
A little bit.
emotional happened to you when you were doing this? How did you feel about wading into this territory? Rocky, you're welcome to join in too on this. How did you feel about it? You're still on mute, Rocky. Oh,
I thought Alicia's gonna.
oh, Alicia, how did you feel about it?
I stayed with what you had said about this is somebody who doesn't like having this characteristic,
Hmm.
and so I sort of described some of the ways and some of the reactions and some of the desires to overcome this and all. So it didn't wasn't very emotional, but it certainly had that tension in it.
Right. And if you go into this, you have to be a bit, in order to understand the character, you have to be somewhat judgmental. A good example of a physical characteristic, an unattractive physical characteristic that might not seem like an unattractive physical characteristic to the viewer would be an accent.
Mhm.
So a heavy accent from another culture could be seen as really beautiful to the people listening to it, but the person speaking it might find it very burdensome. Like a Southern accents are like that. You have such a beautiful Southern accent. A lot of people will apologize for their Southern accent. I will tell you, when I grew up in Western North Carolina, I had a heavy a much heavier, very heavy Appalachian accent in the eighth grade. I talk like this. And when I'd say to you, hello there, Lynn, it's good to see you because I know you live out there in California somewhere, don't you? That's how everybody in the community talked. Now, I know that accent is traced back to the 1600s, and it's in the Smithsonian has studied it. It's like a classic Elizabethan kind of Chaucer accent, right? But it sounds deep country. So people think of folks who speak like that. They don't get very far if they travel outside of the region.
Oh, well, I worked with somebody who had that accent. She was from Monroe, uh, wherever Monroe is,
North Carolina, probably Monroe.
Carolina,
Yeah,
and North Carolina. And she was incredible. I mean, she was on the best dressed list. She was an amazing woman. She started the first AIDS crisis trust in England with me. And she had that accent and she used it. In England, it went down really well. We fundraised off it. I mean,
exactly. There's an actor, Andy McDowell,
yeah, Andy
who.
McDowell, yes, we knew him.
Oh, do you know
And
her? Yeah,
oh,
she's from South Carolina, and her sister
oh, oh
Beverly.
no, no, different one, different
No,
one.
no, this is a woman, and
Oh, this is
she was
fine.
in the Four Weddings and a Funeral, I think, was the show she was in. She's very well known, and her sister Beverly lives here, and but Andy McDowell has a very deep South Carolina accent, and so when she's on the screen, you don't hear it, but when she's off the screen, you do hear it. And I don't know her. I know her sister, and her sister has the same accent, so that's how I know that. And so, so an unattractive characteristic could be an accent, or another unattractive characteristic could be a woman who is absolutely exquisitely beautiful. Lynn, you work in the business of beauty in Hollywood and all of that, and you're around a lot of beautiful, beautiful people, or at least they stay beautiful for a while, and then they're not so beautiful as they age out. What kind of problem would a beautiful woman have, and why would a beautiful woman think her beauty was a liability?
Her voice, especially the silent movie stars who never had a job once they had to open their mouths.
Good example, liability. But what about the beauty itself? The beautiful actress. Why would beauty be a liability?
That you would be viewed that way only, and would be thought not to have a brain, not to
Yeah,
be intelligent.
she's got to live up to it. You have to live up to that
Right.
beauty.
Yeah. He loves me only because I'm beautiful.
Exactly.
I
I'm a
walk
bit,
in a room and everybody, oh my God, look, and nobody will talk to you. Nobody
yeah.
talks to me because I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful and famous, and nobody ever talks to me. I'm lonely. So the beauty becomes an unattractive experience, a liability. So when you start looking at these unattractive experiences or unattractive appearances, you, anything with the right person could be unattractive. Imagine the beautiful young girl whose father then abuses her because of her beauty, or her mother is jealous of her because of her beauty, and she grows up and maybe she does become well known because of her beauty, but she carries that guilt with her. So her interaction with people is influenced by that guilt, and you could go down on and on and on. But as you write your material and as you generate these stories, feel free to throw in all kinds of different characteristics and then work out the psychology underneath them, so that the character might not the character might seem perfect, but the perfection could be the liability,
Mhm.
and then the motivation happens from there. So any other thoughts about that? Alicia, how about you? Anything else on that?
Good.
So, tender spots, getting somewhere here. Now, let's go to the J, and we'll probably finish a little earlier today because there's only four of us, and we can move through all of this much quicker. It's 7:30 right now. Wow, it's is it already gone that fast? Oh my gosh, it's almost 30 minutes after the second hour. Gee whiz, maybe we won't finish early. Golly. So let's move to soothing the tender spots. So what I'd like for you to do is to take a few minutes. Let's take well, take 10 minutes, why not? Let me I was so busy. Let's see. So here's the I want you to start out by thinking about your own tender spots and what you do to soothe yourself when nobody is watching. And what I'd like for you to do is to make a list of those things that you do that soothe you and soothe your tender spots. And so this is not this is not linked up writing. This is more a little bit of research. Just make a list of the things that soothe you. Like for me, one of the things that soothes me, and by extension, when you're being soothed, your tender spots are being soothed as well. I iron. Love to iron, and sometimes I just love to clean because that soothes my tender spots. Sometimes I'll often go to the coffee shop and order a cortado and just sit there and soothe myself. So what soothe, or maybe you love to read some trashy magazine that soothes your tender spots. So take let's take let's take 5 minutes and just list things that soothe your tender spots, and then we'll come back. Take another minute and start to wind it up. And come back on. Okay, what do you know now that you didn't know before? Or maybe, or what did this teach you? Come off mute. Alicia, what do you think?
Um, that mine are all pretty benign. It's not
Say
like
more.
it's not like in the old days when I might have done something wild and crazy to soothe a tender spot. Now they're kind of healthy
Healthy?
responses.
Okay. What about
And
you,
just
Rocky?
kind of work.
Are yours healthy?
They've definitely seem a little bit more mellow than maybe what I might have done before.
Okay. Lynn, how about you? Sorry, I'm off the visual here. Sorry about that. Lynn, how about you?
Yes, yeah, I just wrote a list of all the things that make me happy, that make me, when things are going wrong, life happens on life's terms, and I do something like, love getting dressed up for a party and having my hair done and spoiling myself. And the therapist, I mean, my therapist used to say, go and have a bubble bath,
Okay.
lie in a bubble bath.
So these are very personal and they're benign. They're easy. Go have a bubble bath, dress up, go to a party, enjoy yourself. So when you are thinking about how to incorporate this idea into the work that you're generating, and you end up writing about somebody else, if it's a character in fiction, if you can remember that their public behavior is often very different than their private need, or their public behavior might be covering up a private need. So you have your public persona and your private persona. And the the private persona might be, and the tender spot in the private persona might be feeling very wounded about not being accepted into the tribe. So we talked about not being accepted in the tribe a while, in the socialese. So somebody gets rejected. So maybe the person is rejected and you're writing about this person and you are doing a bit of creative nonfiction so you can speculate about this
You're
person.
freezing.
Hmm? Am I freezing?
No, I
Oh,
think it might
You
be
were
you,
freezing
Lynn.
a bit. Yeah, I did. You froze a bit, yes.
okay, okay.
Oh,
So,
me?
well,
Oh,
maybe it was, I mean,
sorry.
I'm on a wireless here that could freeze, so it could be just as easily be me. Um, so, so this person that you're writing about could have some tender spot, some wound that they could cover up. Now, I know a person who has a lot of had a lot of abuse in her life with men, and she actually was one of those beautiful women that was so beautiful that men didn't quite know what to do with her, so they basically manipulated her, and so there's a lot of violence in her life. So one of the ways that she soothed that, she dressed beautifully, but she always wore these heavy boots. These are my shit kickers, she would say, which is a code for I'm going to kick the man, right? So she was compensating for her tender spot, beautifully dressed, still looking as gorgeous as she always did, but she was wearing these big boots. And I'm not going to say who she is, but I know her. She was a friend of mine. So those boots became her way of compensating. So if you're writing about a character and you start to explore, well, what is this person covering up? Or what are they compensating for? Or maybe it's the reverse. Maybe somebody had a really fantastic childhood and they want to show respect for their childhood and the way the way the mother taught her how to dress. So she goes out in public beautifully dressed, exquisitely, and somebody says to her, well, why do you dress always like this? Why do you never go out without looking fantastic? And she might say, well, I do this because I'm showing respect for my mother, and my mother taught me that when I dress beautifully, it shows respect for all those people who look at me. So she is not playing off a tender spot that is a negative, but it's a tender spot for her mother's love. And now I'm going to dress beautifully so I can show respect for people. So when somebody comes along and criticizes her for being so well dressed, oh, well, you're always so put together so much. I can't believe it. You never have one thread out of place. She has the power to understand what's going on with that woman, and she can compliment that, would be maybe a woman or a man, for trying to be snarky with her, because she has a tender spot that is coming from the positive. So those are the kind of things you can build into one scarf or one pair of glasses or one sweater, um, or one heirloom outfit that was passed down from a treasured friend or a treasured aunt. Like my friend Arlene Burns gave me a sweater from her husband, Giorgio. Giorgio died of a brain tumor. And it was a sweater. Trussardi was the designer's name, an Italian guy. Giorgio was an Italian. This sweater, I wore it last night. It's absolutely beautiful. And I wouldn't part with it for the world. It's probably 50 years old. It looks like it just came off the store shelf yesterday. I have a very tender spot in my heart for Giorgio when he was very ill. So when I wear that sweater, I feel like Giorgio is me and I am Giorgio. Now the sad part is he died, and it's Arlene, R's on the call. You know R, she's on the call, Lynn, from Hood River. You know, that's so you can use a sweater like that and build it out almost as a character in the story. How about that? Are you all? I know Lynn just joined. Alicia, you're joined. Rocky, do you need to take a break, or are you cool? You need to take a break. Let's take a quick 10 minute or 5 minute and come back, and we'll have one more exercise to go. And if you want to, so we'll see you all in about 10 or a little bit less. Rocky's back. Ah, Alicia's cat's back. We have a couple of cats here, actually, and a dog. Remy's the dog, and then we have a top cat and Ophelia are here. Top cat, he has his name. He's Top Cat, but he won't come up on the table. He's too top catty for such a thing. Forget it. I'm not coming up on that table. Okay, let's go and let's do one more. We've warmed up quite a bit, and the idea here is for you to start to feel really free and powerful around what you can write down about anybody, anywhere, anytime. The page is a great place to misbehave and to do all the things that you were told not to do. And you can do them as much as you like because you can always wad it up or burn it and throw it away. As you're writing, it's really good to know that you have given yourself that permission to do really terrible things as well as do really fantastic things and beautiful things on the page, because the people who generate compelling material that I like to read are willing to take those risks. Now, it's one thing to take the risk and keep it to yourself. It's another thing to decide to put stuff out there. There's no obligation to put it out there in this work. You can keep it to yourself, but I would suggest that you give yourself permission to make your your reach a bit more liberal. Be more liberal with it. So there's no obligation to do it, but maybe obligate yourself to expand more than where you might go publicly. Really push the taboos a bit and play around with the taboos. Do things on the page you really wouldn't do ever. Be as unethical as possible and be as divine as you can possibly be, and the range in between. And as you practice that, you'll start to amuse yourself more and more, and you'll understand that it's just the page, and you can always tear it up. So here we come to the last exercise in Tender Spots: empathy with a villain. Empathy with a villain. And it doesn't mean having empathy means you even have to have sympathy. It doesn't mean you're excusing the villain for whatever the villain did. We can think of a lot of villains. I think of the people who burned the witches in Salem. I think of them as villains, burning the witches. They thought of themselves as divine people called by God to get rid of the demons. So the villain was the demon being burned, and but the at least so the people of the village thought. So empathy with a villain. So what do you have? Think of somebody in your life that you really, really don't like. Somebody that has done you that deserves a country song hit. Did you really wrong? And that maybe you have forgiven them, but you're not that pleased with them. You just don't like them anymore. And I'm sure you probably have somebody. If not currently, there's somebody there that's somewhere in the past that you can identify. Now, what I want you to do is to write about that person. And I want you to explore as best you can, not how bad they were to you, not how awful they are. And we can pick any villain you like. Right now, the big villain is Hitler. He's a big villain in our culture for damn good reason. There are plenty of others as well. So he would be the example that I would offer up, but you can pick some others too. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 10 minutes and I want you to write about this person that you know. And I want you to explore what were they afraid of and what had they lost. And not that they're afraid of spiders or heights but what are they afraid of? What scares them? What do you think really are they afraid of? And then what have they lost? What have they lost? This person that you're thinking of. What have they lost? So describe the person and try to explore those two questions. What were they afraid of? And what had they lost? And that's how they became the villain. Any questions? You're cool with that? All good? Off you go, 10 minutes. So for those of you who have not been able to attend tonight, we're glad that you're watching this video. And we have now arrived at the last exercise, empathy with a villain. What came up with this? Anything? Come off mute, please. Lynn, there you go.
I found it quite difficult because the person I'm writing about, I've found it very difficult to empathize with him. But I did write a bit about how I could empathize, but at the end I had to say I still hate him.
Well, you can hate somebody and still empathize with them. Empathy doesn't necessarily.
Well, I try.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I mean, I did write a little bit about why I thought he behaved the way he did, but I
Yeah.
found it difficult.
And the point of this is if you're developing a character or if you're trying to write a memoir and you have a villain in the memoir, somebody who's done you wrong, it's really important to practice putting yourself in their shoes because villains don't think they're villains. They don't think they're wrong at all. They think they're absolutely right. And perhaps you've been a villain as
Of
well.
course.
I mean, I don't know. I have some villain rank in my life. I'm a reasonably decent character, but there are people that see me as a villain. I've done them wrong, and I'm the bad guy, and they've told me so. And there are people that think I'm just absolutely great, and they've told me that too. And so, if I make an appearance in some memoirs, I might not appear as favorable in some as I would in others. That may or may not be the case with you, but I certainly suspect it is with me. I actually suspect it may be with all of us at some point. So, any other thoughts on it, Rocky, Alicia?
It's a good way to like imagine somebody's past and their interiority.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficult beginnings that they crafted themselves out of.
Right. Um, Breaking Bad, Walter White. Did you all see that show, Breaking Bad?
I'm waiting to see it.
Okay, have you seen it, Rocky?
No, it was too violent for me. I started watching it, but it was too violent
Alicia,
for
have
me.
you seen it? Okay, so here's an example of a villain. Walter White opens the show with some kind of violent, they're making meth and they have some kind of crazy thing going on. And then they switch to ordinary circumstances 3 weeks earlier. So what is he doing? He's in a somewhat rundown middle, split level house in Albuquerque. He has a job as a chemistry teacher in a high school. You don't know much more about him than that. You do get a sense out of the gate that he's super frustrated with his job. The students aren't paying any attention. He tries to show his enthusiasm for chemistry, and they just don't care. And the only guy in the entire class that cares is this guy named Jesse. And Jesse sort of cares, and Jesse has a bit of a spark, and Mr. White connects with him. But Jesse is the worst student in the room. Well, you soon learn that his frustration comes from the fact that he was a genius chemist in his field and he was on the verge of $1 billion business and the rug was pulled out from under him by his two partners and he was shamed and made to look really bad, lost everything, ended up not being able to even fix the air conditioner in Albuquerque because he couldn't quite afford it on his teacher's salary. And nobody had recognized him as the great chemist that he was. He had failed and he had no money and he wanted to take care of his family. And his son had some kind of physical deformity. He was something was wrong with him. And he loved both his wife and his son and his daughter. He goes from that to being Heisenberg, the great chemist, the great drug dealer, the great meth dealer. He murders people. It's violent all the way through. But the entire time, he's driven by the need to give his family something and driven by the need for revenge and the need to get recognition. And along the way, he discovers he has cancer. So, in the 5 year period from when you see him in the classroom until when he dies of cancer, he has this arc of breaking bad. And in his breaking bad, he achieves everything he wants. So at the end, he is happy. And yet he was the villain. So there's a good example of how the writers built in all the villain stuff and the tension of the good and the bad all at the same time.
Now I don't have to see it.
Yeah.
No, I've watched it twice. I've watched it twice. But that's the story of how he breaks bad and what he does. And you learn all of that early on. These are the elements, these are the dramatic elements, and then what does he do? How does he deal with it? And what does it mean? He's going to die of cancer, but you don't have any idea how it's going to play out. No idea. And you watch it play right in front of your eyes. So it's compelling, and it is violent, and it is about Breaking Bad, but it is about a villain. Same thing with Hannibal Lecter and um, um, oh shoot, sorry, Hannibal Lecter in
Yeah,
Silence of the Lambs. You know,
yeah.
um,
And my grandson just starred in a film um, called Tyler. It's the same story. And he dissolves into drug addiction, alcoholism, and he ends up killing someone. And it was horrible. I hated watching him in the part, but he was really good.
is it on Netflix or?
Uh, I don't know. It just opened the Los Angeles. Uh,
Huh. Seems like I
it-
saw something about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler. He's the lead.
Yeah. Well, good for him and Breaking Bad. Here we are. So let's have three. Would you all like to choose one to read? We'd love to hear it as we close out. Or any questions before we close? Rocky, you always look like you have a question. I imagine that's just part of what you do.
I don't have a question. I'm just reflecting on how there are a couple of books and movies where they do a really good job of setting somebody up to be the bad, and then they show you the other side and they kind of twist the perspectives where you are completely lost on like what is good, what is bad,
Yeah, yeah.
Parasite was a good movie that did that really
It,
well.
Parasite did a great job of that. Absolutely, yeah. And when you write, you have the power to play around with that and explore that for yourself.
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't know. Maybe I don't know, how to, what is good and what is bad. And it might change. And it indeed does. That's why you have to go to in front of a judge and have somebody decide these things. So, Rocky, you want to read first?
Sure. I will read this piece, Empathy with the Villain. In the morning, my uncle would pinch us kids to wake us up. Maybe he was awfully afraid of being alone in the mornings. He felt powerless in his own company. There, he could not escape his feelings of insufficiency. How insufficient he was, incapable he must have felt as a young man struggling to find his way in the world. With no one to lift him up, he broke all rules of morality and found a way to make money. When he saw his adopted son, it reminded him of that part of him that was incapable. Not in the daughter he conceived, she was a symbol of his power and achievement. He probably puffed up and poked at people because he could not bear the notion of being an equal. Not really. That's not how the world had treated him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Very powerful. How do you feel about that, Rocky?
I I don't talk to this uncle. He killed my brother, and not really, but emotionally and metaphorically. And even though I see this side of him, it just makes good writing. I'm sorry.
That's exactly right. And it did make good writing. It was loaded with everything that you brought to it. Truly,
Really well written.
beautiful. The villain serves you in this case. And
You know
you,
what it does is a little bit of the grief of the pain my brother went through in being
hmm
his adopted son.
yeah,
So it does ease that a little bit.
a little, yeah. Writing does more than just provide something for somebody to read, my friends. Lynn, how about you? What do you have for us tonight?
It's, I'm afraid not, it's not, I couldn't even finish it. It was very upsetting. Anyway, hate. I've done my best to think up reasons why my stepson was so hateful, so cruel, and such an unpleasant person. I really don't like to use that word, but in this case, I'm afraid I have to. My husband was a strong personality who, from poor beginnings, became extremely successful. His son, however, never quite made it. Every job he was, every job he got was because his father, my husband, opened the doors. I understand how this must have made him feel. Friends in the motion picture industry all understood that he wasn't really up to the job, but kept him on to placate his father. The day came when my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and was unable to leave his home in LA. We both were green card holders, not citizens, and we had to commute back and forth to England to count. Uh, yeah, to England. For tax reasons, he gave all my husband gave all his money to this son, who ended up. This is where I didn't finish. He ended up evicting us from our own home. Um, and then I was going to explain that maybe he felt that we had a life that he really wanted. But anyway, before my husband died, just as he was dying, he evicted us from our own home. So I didn't finish the story.
That's a hard burden to carry.
Mhm.
That is definitely difficult. And
Last year,
and go ahead.
last year he died of cancer. The son, my stepson.
Wow.
Isn't that karma? I mean,
That's a
I couldn't believe that I had 3 days to leave the house, and I left my husband in the house. I went to stay with my son because I thought, that he would never evict his father, and he did.
interesting. I know two fellows, Allegra's brother Tony Houston,
Yeah, I know Tony. Yeah,
and then another fellow that I met in Paris, Mark Dolan, whose father was a director, Dolan, uh, Singing in the Rain, maybe I think was the movie. But he was, and both Tony and Mark, and I've known Tony for 20 years. It took Tony 10 years to talk about the relationship he had with his father and how he was having, how he was dealing with it. And then Mark, whom I don't know that well, but I met a couple of times in Paris. He was in a writers group. Same kind of same thing. He was dealing with all the stuff that the father had, and then your stepson, big father, in that business, dealing with it.
yeah. Being the son of in Hollywood, to be the son of anyone is or the daughter is quite difficult. Much
Yeah,
more with boys.
right.
I mean,
The girls don't seem to have it. I don't know that many girls.
I
Uh,
don't know many girls who had it.
I know, no, I don't know many actually. No, I don't. And I don't know that many people. You know more about that than I do. But so the point isn't the point is to say that you have these villains, but when you start to dig a little deeper into what drives them, you start to see what's going on, and it's really tough. Um, Alicia, let's have one from you. Thank you, Lynn, for that. It was good.
I'll
It
do
wasn't.
the villain
Okay.
one also. um, he slicked his hair back and stuck a toothpick in the corner of his mouth, ready to go out and work his prospects. Tailored baggy pants with front creases and a belt, a sports jacket, and a slanted cap completed his Mr. Cool look as he jangled coins in his right pocket and jaunted down the 2 flights of steps leading from his apartment to the street. He was a numbers man, always making deals, selling tickets, betting on horse races. He was his own boss, had never worked for anyone. Began his own way of wheeling and dealing at age 10 when his single mom kicked him out one morning and told him not to come back till he'd earned his keep. Hustling was how he felt in charge of life. He both intimidated and charmed people with his smooth talking. He could sell anyone anything. That's as far as I got.
Well,
Wonderful description.
yeah.
I don't know this guy. I made it up, but I played with the clothing items as well, just because I had to.
Fantastic. Well, I thought so you were so emotionally connected to it. So all three of these, what they were so compelling. And people would say that's good writing. Were you thinking about making good writing when you were generating these pieces? What were you thinking about? What were you thinking about?
Ways to describe him,
Yeah.
ways to depict him. Yeah.
What were you thinking about, Rocky?
Yeah, I was thinking about what makes him a villain. Like, what actions was he doing that seemed villainous? So it got very specific, which was lovely,
Yeah,
with trying to make it up to be
right.
specific.
Exactly. Lynn, what were you thinking about?
I was thinking of how I can get to the end and make sense make sense of it quickly enough before the 10 minutes was up, which I
Well,
didn't. Yeah,
you did get to the end. I mean, nobody got to the end. You just the end comes when the 10 minutes is up. Is the end. Um,
I know. But I wanted to explain more about my thoughts about what may have, he saw the way we lived, and I think he disapproved of our friends. I mean, he was, he was very critical. I mean, oh gosh, there were so many things that insecurity. We
hmm
would sit, he would sit for dinners with us with famous filmmakers, and he would say, well, if I made The Godfather, I wouldn't have done this. It would have, I would have changed it and done something else, and you thought, what has he ever done to warrant being able to make these sort of comments? And it was it was insecurity. He was very
Yeah,
insecure. He'd never done anything like that.
right. Yeah.
He had opinions. He had strong opinions, which he voiced embarrassingly.
hmm So why did all of this sound so good to you when each of you read it? It's not good writing. You didn't try to write, you weren't trying to write something good or write well. Why did it sound so damn good?
I think we went for specificity. I think a lot of specifics showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, you were disconnected from being good writers.
Hmm.
You were working in the lower case. You were just generating something you were connected to, and you were exploring something that was difficult.
I
And
would also add there was a tension. There was an inherent tension in the prompt,
yes,
which allowed us to make like these moves in the writing, these sudden moves in the writing.
right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just got out of your own way.
Hmm.
I'm no longer a writer. I've just got to, I got, oh, wow. It's like you're watching this character unfold right in front of you, and you just happen to be jotting down what is happening emotionally. And because you already know how to write, I mean, you've learned that a long time ago. All that skill you have just responds happily without effort to the emotional connection you have to the story you're telling. So you're no longer writing. You're in the old ancient storytelling tradition. You just happen to be catching the fireflies with ink, which I think is
It's fun.
really,
There's a lot more we could do with it.
oh my God, you can, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And so Rocky, as we close, before you all came on, I did want to review just a real quick thing that Rocky and I were talking about. I was asking Rocky what she would like from what would you I said, what would you pay $2,500 for? Like for 4 days, what would you pay for 4 days? What would you spend $2,500 for? And this would be before lodging and everything. What would you spend the $2,500 for? So what did you say? I thought it was really interesting what you
Oh,
wanted.
I said something that would move my project from point A to point B, like a forward, like a movement of progress.
And she also was saying that that we were talking about these 10-minute bursts, because right now we're saying just write for 10 minutes and then we move on to the next 10 minutes. So we were constructing this idea of the 10 minutes as the as the as the breath marker. Write for 10 minutes, check in. Do I have momentum for another 10? Write for 10, check in, momentum for another 10, write for 10, check in. Okay, I'm at the end of the 3 10 minutes. That's 30 minutes. I'm checking in. I no longer have momentum for this. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to come back and start another 10. And we were thinking if we had time to focus from that point of view, longer generative work, but using the 10 minutes as like a signature beats, like in music or something. So you have a whole 45 minutes or 50 minutes to write, and then you we play around with that. So that's what we were talking about before we started all this. So I just wanted to fill you in on that because I thought it was a really interesting idea. I don't quite know what to do with it, but it's interesting.
This reminds me when I was learning pottery, the time you spend on the wheel is actually just part of it. It's like your 10 minutes. But you have to go prep the clay before that. And then you come back again, and then you go on the wheel, and then you do something, and then you go again, like you use your hands off the wheel and do something. And so it's that. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I'll have to think about how to construct that, but that would be an interesting thing to offer in a workshop. Anyway, that's what I just wanted to let you all know. That's what we were talking about before you came. Any closing comments or thoughts?
No, it's always great fun, and then and yeah, can feel I always end feeling all the possibilities.
These things are always dramatically different every time. It's really incredible to be part of it. And I'm glad we recorded this. And I apologize for not having last week's, but something flubbed. I don't know what, but this time I'm going to pay attention and um,
And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to come. We're going to Chicago next week, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to. I don't know what the plans are when we get there. We're going to a wedding, and I'm not sure what the family have in store. So if I'm
got
not,
you.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We'll record it. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can. We're glad to, Lynn. You've been with us a long time, and we love having you around. And when you're here, it's a wonderful thing. And when you're absent, we wonder what happened, and we can't wait for you to come back. So, what more do you want?
Next week I'm in Chicago,
Uh,
unless ICE get hold of me and chuck me out.
Okay, I doubt they'll chuck you out, Lynn.
You never know.
Oh, that's true. But
I'm
let's
a
listen.
newcomer. I'm a newcomer here.
But we'll keep our fingers crossed. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you very soon. Good luck in Chicago if you can't make it next week, Lynn.
I also won't be here next week,
Okay.
actually, reminding me. Okay.
All right. So we'll talk soon. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.